They don't want you focused. They want you distracted, scrolling, reacting, begging for meaning. Because the man who learns to control his focus becomes dangerous. Not loud, not emotional, but precise. And the precise man terrifies them. Machiavelli understood something most men today forget. Power starts with what you give your attention to. The more you care about what others think, the more you become theirs. The more you focus on your own path, the more they become yours. This is not philosophy, this is warfare. Every opinion you chase, every argument you entertain, every trend you follow, it leaks your strength. And eventually, you become noise yourself. The world doesn't silence you, you drown in it. And that's why self-focus isn't optional. It's a weapon. Pull your energy back. Not with emotion, not with anger, with strategy. Let others react. You observe. Let them explain. You move. Let them scream. You think. Focus is not isolation. It's dominance without noise. It's ruling your mind before someone else does. If you're done bleeding energy into the hands of fools, write this below. My silence builds empires. Because from this point on, your attention belongs to you and no one else. Number 1, distraction is the enemy that smiles. The greatest enemy of power today doesn't come with a sword. It comes with a notification, a headline, a dopamine hit designed to make you feel instead of think. They don't need to destroy you. They just need to keep you scrolling. Because a distracted man never becomes a dangerous one. Machiavelli warned, "He who controls the people must control their minds first." Today, they don't control you with chains. They use algorithms, envy, and noise. And the second you react to every little thing, you hand them the remote to your brain. Every time you pick your phone without purpose, every time you chase another trend, another opinion, another person's approval, you fracture your mind. One piece here, another there, until there's nothing left to build your empire with. The world wants your focus cheap. Your job? Make it expensive, guard it like a fortress, cut off what drains you, even if it once entertained you, even if it once felt like connection, because real power doesn't need to be seen. It just needs to be concentrated. If you're done trading your mind for noise, comment below. I guard my focus like a weapon. And remember, the man who protects his attention protects his future. Number 2, isolation isn't weakness, it's refinement. They'll say you've changed, that you've gone cold, that you've become distant, but what they really mean is you've stopped being available to their chaos. You've started building in silence, and that terrifies them. Machiavelli understood this well. A man who is wise must learn to be alone with his thoughts, not because solitude is easy, but because power is born in silence. The world celebrates the man who's everywhere, but fears the one who disappears, then returns 10 times sharper. You're not avoiding people. You're avoiding noise, confusion, emotional pollution. Because every second you spend explaining yourself is a second wasted. Your results will speak louder than your presence ever could. Strategic isolation is not retreat, it's regeneration. While others broadcast their lives for validation, you go dark. While they're busy talking, you're recalibrating. While they're chasing attention, you're becoming someone who commands it by doing nothing at all. If you've ever felt the pull to vanish and evolve, listen to it, honor it. And if that's where you're heading now, write this in the comments. My silence is sacred. Because when you come back, they won't recognize you. Number 3, the one who reacts first loses. Power doesn't shout. It watches, it waits, it calculates. But weak minds, they react instantly, emotionally, loudly. And that's all it takes to lose everything. One bad reaction, and they own you. They provoke you not because they care, but because they want to see if they still control your emotions, if they can still pull strings inside your mind. And every time you flinch, argue, or over-explain, you confirm their dominance. You become predictable. And Machiavelli warned, the first method for estimating the intelligence of a ruler is to look at the men he has around him. But in today's world, we estimate a man's power by how unbothered he remains, while surrounded by chaos. When they can't read you, they fear you. When they can't provoke you, they lose leverage. Your silence becomes confusion. Your calm becomes a threat. Because people don't know how to fight someone who doesn't flinch. You must train your emotions like a soldier. No response unless it serves your strategy. No outburst unless it serves your long game. No explanation unless it buys you power. Everything else, you keep inside. You let them guess. You let them drown in your stillness. This is why most people never reach real power. Because they're addicted to reaction. Addicted to proving, defending, arguing. They want to be understood. But the Machiavellian man wants to be unreadable. If someone has ever baited you into defending your peace, write this in the comments. I am not here to react. I am here to rule. And remember, the less they know, the more they fear. Number 4, self-focus builds leverage. Leverage controls everything. In every room, there's a man who speaks and a man who listens. One is trying to prove something. The other is collecting data, measuring weakness, identifying emotional cracks. Guess which one wins? You don't need to dominate every room with your words. You dominate it by controlling what controls everyone else. Attention. Your self-focus is the forge. Every hour you spend sharpening your mind, controlling your time, building your value. You're not just growing, you're storing leverage. Quietly, coldly, patiently. Machiavelli didn't obsess over fairness. He obsessed over control. And the cruel truth is this: people only respect what they fear losing. When you become the man they can't manipulate, the man who doesn't need validation, the man who walks away without a single word, you become irreplaceable. That's power, not noise, not popularity, not fake charisma, but psychological leverage built through obsessive self-discipline. You want influence? Then disappear for a year and return 10 steps ahead. Let them laugh while you're gone. Let them doubt you. Let them forget you. Because when you return with results, they'll remember you differently. They'll talk less. They'll listen more. And not because you changed your tone, but because you raised your value. That's how powerful self-focus becomes. It's not about becoming better than others. It's about becoming so rare, so composed, so deeply focused that they can't even compete. And if they try, you don't fight. You just exist above them. Let the crowd chase relevance. You chase refinement. Let them argue for status. You build substance. Let them demand attention. You make your absence expensive. Because once you learn to focus inward, you stop negotiating your worth outward. If you're building your empire in silence while no one's watching, comment this now: my focus is my throne. Because the world bows, not to the loudest voice, but to the calmest mind with the most leverage. Number 5, kill the need to be seen. Most people don't chase power. They chase attention and confuse the two. They want to be seen, heard, praised, validated. But here's the dark truth no one tells you. The more you need to be seen, the easier you are to control. Because you're not dangerous when your self-worth is tied to noise. You're predictable, and the predictable man is never powerful. Validation is a leash, a silent, shiny leash, dressed in likes, emojis, applause, and compliments. It doesn't choke you, it seduces you. It makes you believe you're winning, while it pulls you exactly where they want you to go. Think about it. The algorithm is designed to feed you praise when you're tame and starve you when you're real. That's not affirmation. That's manipulation with polish. Machiavelli didn't play that game. He didn't need the crowd to clap. He needed control, influence, results. And he knew one thing clearly. The more you depend on others for your sense of self, the less of it you actually have. If you need their eyes to feel important, you've already lost the war for your mind. That's the cold reality, and most will never escape it. People walk around starving for approval, unaware of how exposed they've made themselves. Their confidence dies with one negative comment. Their energy collapses when they're ignored. Their mood swings are tied to someone else's reaction. That's not personality. That's programmable behavior. And if you can be programmed, you can be broken. But there's another path, a colder one, a lonelier one, but also the only one that leads to real power. You must learn to validate yourself through execution, not expression, through silence, not selfish, through progress, not praise. That's the Machiavellian mindset. The less they know, the more they fear. This is where you start rewiring. When you do something difficult, don't tell anyone. Let it build inside you. When you make a move, don't announce it. Let it explode later. When you succeed, don't chase congratulations. Let the world feel your absence, then be stunned by your emergence. Power isn't in being seen, it's in being undeniable without trying. Understand this. The man who needs to be seen never builds anything real. He's too busy performing, too busy adjusting, too busy explaining himself to stay in control. He becomes a puppet, smiling when praised, breaking when ignored. The Machiavellian? He's never the loudest. He's just always the one you can't ignore when he finally moves. There's a cost to being silent. People will misunderstand you. They'll assume you're arrogant, distant, emotionless. Let them. That's the price of power. Because those who need to be seen will waste time correcting every false impression. But those who know their value, they stay still, while their enemies waste energy trying to figure them out. You must become the ghost in their system. Not present, but always felt. Not loud, but always looming. Your moves confuse them, your stillness frustrates them, and your focus, it terrifies them. Because you don't need to be noticed. You need to be effective. This is why most people stay stuck. They get addicted to being noticed before they've done anything worth noticing. They want praise before progress. They want love before discipline. They want a following before they've built a foundation. But that's not power. That's delusion. And delusion is the enemy of every strong mind. You must disconnect from that addiction. Starve it, kill it. Replace it with obsession for mastery. Become invisible for a while. Let your mind grow in the dark. Let your work become your validation. Because when your validation comes from within, no one can take it from you. And the moment you start needing nothing from the world starts needing everything from you. That's how power shifts. That's how leverage is built. That's how legends move. Quiet, intentional, and always 10 steps ahead. If you want to test yourself, go silent. For a week, then 2, then a month. See who checks on you. See what falls apart without your constant presence. See how much stronger your mind becomes when it's no longer interrupted. Your focus sharpens, your emotions stabilize, and your actions, they become surgical. That's what the world fears. Not a man who's loud, but a man who vanishes to build and returns without asking permission. A man who doesn't need applause because he builds empires in the dark. You have to kill the impulse to share before it's real, to show the plan before it's executed, to celebrate before you've conquered. That's the virus in modern men. They mistake attention for achievement, but the Machiavellian man knows the difference. And that's why he wins when everyone else is exhausted from pretending. And when they see what you've become, they'll ask, how? How did you grow while we were all busy showing off? How did you evolve while we were explaining ourselves? How did you become untouchable when you never even raised your voice? And your answer will be silence. Because real growth doesn't explain itself. It arrives, it transforms the room, it speaks without sound. Write this below if you've started to detach from the performance. I'm not here to be seen, I'm here to be sovereign. Because the man who no longer seeks their eyes becomes the shadow that rules them all. Number 6. Discipline is the fortress. Control time, control the game. Weak men wait for motivation. Strong men operate from systems. The untouchable man doesn't wake up hoping to feel ready. He decides to be ready, daily, without emotion, without excuse. Because in the game of power, discipline isn't a lifestyle, it's a fortress. And time is your only true currency. Look around, everyone's busy, but no one's effective. They chase goals with no routine. They burn energy without direction. They mistake activity for progress. But not you. Not if you're here. You're not here to be busy. You're here to own time. And that starts with mastering the invisible structure behind your days. Machiavelli didn't speak about calendars or task lists. He spoke about control. The control of men. The control of situations. But the first battle he'd demand you win is the control of your hours. Because if you can't command your time, you're already someone else's tool. Time is where power hides. And most never touch it. They wake up when they feel like it. They move only when life forces them. They're slaves, not to chains, but to their own lack of structure. But the Machiavellian mind is sharp on it. Cold, relentless, and its edge is sharpened in routine. Your discipline must become sacred, not flashy, not loud, not posted online, sacred. You wake up not because of a challenge, but because your mission demands it. You train your body not for looks, but because weakness is a liability. You master your schedule, not for productivity's sake, but because chaos belongs to the powerless. This is how power is built quietly. Every controlled hour is a brick. Every finished task is a weapon. Every routine you refuse to break becomes a wall between you and the mediocrity that used to haunt you. While they chase comfort, you chase command. It's not about being perfect. It's about being predictable to yourself. When your body knows what to do before your mind can resist, that's when you've transcended weakness. That's when your day becomes an extension of your will, not a reaction to your mood. There is no such thing as freedom without structure. The freest man is the one who has mastered limitation. He doesn't waste time on options. He has rituals, systems, cold precision. And those routines? They kill confusion, they silence hesitation. They destroy the need for external force. Most people sabotage themselves with randomness. They set goals, but have no repeatable behavior behind them. That's why they fall. They chase motivation like children chasing fireflies, hoping it'll return tomorrow, but it never does. Because motivation is for spectators. Systems are for kings. You don't need to feel inspired to dominate. You need to do what must be done, no matter what you feel. That's discipline. And it's not sexy, it's not glamorous, it's not fun, but it is what makes the difference between a man who watches time slip through his fingers and a man who uses time to carve his throne. Machiavelli would have said it this way: don't wait for the world to give you a crown, build a clock, and make the world run on your time. The more structure you build, the less chaos can enter, and the more ordered your inner world becomes, the less the outside world can disturb it. Time is the battlefield, Most are unarmed. You come prepared. Hour by hour, choice by choice. You use time like a sword. Cut the fat. Eliminate waste. Guard your mornings like treasure. Use your nights for reflection, not escape. Sleep like a king, rise like a warrior, move like a ghost. There will be temptations, always. Distractions that scream louder than your plans, but you already know. Chaos is the enemy, noise is a trap, and emotion is a thief. Your power lies in not negotiating with any of them. You must make your routine heavier than your excuses. So when your feelings try to speak, your actions have already started. And that's the secret to mental power. Not thinking more, but thinking less. Because your system already knows the path. Eventually, your discipline becomes your identity. You're no longer forcing yourself. You've become someone else entirely. A man who does not need pressure to perform. A man who doesn't need chaos to move. A man who doesn't explain his habits. Because his results speak louder than any excuse ever could. And here's the final truth. Once they realize you don't waste time, they'll know you won't waste power. And that's what makes them fear you. Not your voice, not your presence, but your consistency, your order, your routine. That's your weapon. That's your fortress. That's your proof. If you're no longer interested in motivation and have chosen mastery instead, write this in the comments. I don't follow motivation. I follow a code. Because from this point forward, you're not just managing time, you're ruling it. Number 7, emotional detachment is the weapon they'll never see coming. The most dangerous man in any room is the one who feels nothing but sees everything. He doesn't react, he doesn't flinch, he observes with cold, surgical precision. Because while the world teaches you to be vulnerable, Machiavelli would teach you to be unreadable. Emotions are not the enemy, but emotional reactivity is. The second they know what upsets you, they own you. The second they see you flinch, they adjust their strategy. And the second they realize they can make you explain yourself, the power shifts. You don't win by feeling more. You win by separating feeling from decision. When they scream, you listen. When they insult, you calculate. When they try to trigger you, you stay still. Because silence, in the hands of a focused man, becomes a weapon sharper than any blade. Machiavelli understood the weakness of emotion in the hands of those who seek power. He wrote, "Men are driven by two things, love and fear. But to be feared is far safer. Why? Because love expects you to feel, to give, to soften. Fear, on the other hand, demands nothing. It respects boundaries. It obeys silence. That's why emotional detachment isn't about being numb. It's about being unavailable to manipulation. You don't remove your emotions, you master them. You decide when to feel and when to fold your feelings like weapons in your coat, carried but never flashed. Look around you. Most people are drowning in their own reactions. They speak before thinking, they argue before understanding. They burn bridges because they confuse impulse with power. But the emotionally detached man? He burns nothing. He lets people burn themselves while he remains untouched. You want control? Then detach. Not with bitterness, but with strategy. Stop arguing with fools. Stop trying to be understood. Stop reacting to every shift in someone's tone. Your calm is not weakness, it's control, and they'll never know what to do with it. This is what separates the average from the elite. The average man is owned by his emotions. He texts back when provoked. He raises his voice when disrespected. He seeks closure. But the elite man? He closes the door without a sound. He walks away, not because he's weak, but because he knows the war isn't worth the energy. And this isn't theory, it's training. You have to learn to sit in discomfort, to feel rage and not act, to feel insult and say nothing, to feel abandoned and not chase. Because every time you resist the urge to react, you sharpen your mind. You become the storm they never saw coming. Power is clarity, and clarity can't exist inside a reactive mind. Detachment is how you clear the fog. It's how you see people for what they are, not what you hoped they'd be. When you detach, you don't lose feeling, you gain vision. You see through manipulation, through desperation, through false praise, and you stop mistaking noise for love. Most men collapse because they still crave emotional comfort from the very people who feed them pain. They want closure from liars. They want validation from betrayers. They want understanding from the crowd. But the Machiavellian man wants none of that. He wants results, not reconciliation. You don't need to prove your value to those who failed to see it. You don't need to explain your silence. You don't need to lower yourself to win emotional wars. You rise by being unavailable. You rise by letting fools fight while you build. And the best part? Once you become detached, people notice. They see your shift. They feel your stillness. They don't know what you're thinking. And that mystery makes them nervous. Because a man they can read is a man they can predict. But a man who says nothing, who shows nothing, who reacts to nothing, terrifies them. Eventually, they'll test you. They'll poke. They'll provoke. They'll try to break the silence. Don't move. They'll ask why you've changed. Don't answer. They'll throw emotional bait. Don't bite. You've entered a new phase, where peace is earned through power, not pity. If you truly want to level up, detach from the past, from old narratives, from people who only understand you when you're weak. Detach from the version of you that always needed to explain, justify, prove. That version dies today. When you move with calm, they assume you've lost emotion, but in reality, you've gained authority. The world doesn't reward the emotional, it rewards the composed. The man who doesn't chase drama, who doesn't fear walking alone, who doesn't fight battles beneath his purpose. And when people say you've gone cold, let them. When they say you've changed, good. That means they can no longer play you, no longer access you, no longer predict your moves. That means the version of you they once had power over is gone. So, here's your choice. Stay reactive and be manipulated forever, or detach and become the one they can't touch, can't trigger, can't read. If you've started to master the silence within, if you've felt yourself pulling away from the chaos, write this in the comments now. Detachment is my power. I feel nothing. I lose nothing. Because when you no longer react, you rise. Number 8. Solitude is where you become dangerous. Most people run from solitude. They call it loneliness. They fear the silence. They panic when no one texts. When the room gets quiet, they feel small, exposed, forgotten. And that's where they collapse. Not from the world's pressure, but from their own fear of being alone. But let me tell you something. Solitude is not punishment. It's purification. It's not where you lose yourself. It's where you find the version of you that no one's ever seen. The version that isn't dependent on voices, attention, or validation. The version that doesn't need an audience, because he's too busy becoming something dangerous. You can't build real power in noise. You can't gain clarity surrounded by people who drain you. And you can't develop your mind when it's constantly pulled in 10 directions. Solitude strips all that away. The fakes fall off, the distractions fade, and all that's left is you, raw, real, and uncomfortable. That discomfort is the beginning of your rebirth. Machiavelli would not have told you to seek company when your mind is weak. He would have told you to retreat, not to escape, but to refine. He would have told you to pull back from the crowd, to become feared by those who no longer understand your silence, and to create a life so solid that it doesn't need explaining. Most men try to heal in the presence of the people who broke them. That's why they never evolve. They stay available. They stay emotionally accessible. And in doing so, they stay owned. The Machiavellian man disappears, not to sulk, but to sharpen, not to cry, but to calculate. He's not gone, he's transforming. Solitude is not weakness, it's resistance training for the soul. It teaches you to be alone with your thoughts without letting them destroy you. It forces you to meet the unfiltered version of yourself, the one you hide behind distractions. And once you face that version, you gain something rare in this world: self-command. You must learn to be emotionally self-sufficient. You must become your own anchor, your own voice of reason, your own source of strength. Because the man who depends on no one for his inner peace is a man no one can destroy. And here's what they won't tell you. Your enemies hope you never learn this. They hope you stay needy, responsive, easily provoked. They want you clinging to relationships, checking your phone, over-explaining your silence. Because if you ever fully embraced solitude, you'd become untouchable. In solitude, you start hearing truth, not opinions, not distractions, but truth. About your habits, your weaknesses, your patterns, and most men run from that. Because facing it means change, discipline, letting go of comfort. But that's the price, and only the serious pay it. This is why your solitude must be strategic. Don't just isolate to hide. Isolate to construct. Create a system. Build your body. Study the mind. Audit your circle. Break your addictions. Every day in silence must be a step toward power, not escape. And yes, they will talk. They'll call you cold, disconnected, weird. They won't understand why you disappeared. Good. Let them guess. Because when you resurface, they'll realize you weren't avoiding them, you were surpassing them. Silently, completely, without a single warning. The lion doesn't announce his hunt. He disappears, watches, studies, and then he returns. Faster, sharper, lethal. That's what solitude builds. While they chase attention, you chase alignment. While they chase comfort, you chase clarity. While they need the crowd, you need only your discipline. Powerful men don't fear being alone, they require it. Because they know solitude is where the blueprint gets written. It's where the weaknesses get burned out. It's where the mind becomes organized, the emotions get mastered, and the purpose becomes clear. People always say, "I don't want to be alone," but they're already alone. Emotionally abandoned by the very people they're surrounded by. Spiritually disconnected from their purpose. Mentally enslaved by opinions. What they fear isn't loneliness. They fear silence, revealing the truth. Let silence reveal who you really are, and then fix it. Not for them, for you. You owe it to the man you could become to kill every version of you that's wasting time. Every version of you that's addicted to people, to noise, to false purpose. Let those versions rot in the isolation chamber while you evolve into a weapon. And don't mistake solitude for stagnation. In the world of men who build in silence, progress happens without applause. No one sees the 4 a.m. wake-ups, the late night studying, the cold showers, the meditations, the breakdowns. No one needs to, because results don't ask for validation, they demand respect. Here's what happens once you weaponize solitude. People come back, curious, confused, drawn to the shift. They feel your energy change. They feel your presence harden. They feel your boundaries sharpen. You say less, but they listen more. You show less,